Right, actually nailed the seat now to the horse, so I'm actually sitting in the driver's position. It's about the only way of getting the ergonomics right for everything. Best switch position seems to be the one below the dash, so my hand will still miss it by a good inch or so, so even if you've got somebody who's completely hand-fisted, you should miss him quite well. And I can come underneath here with the dash. I don't think I'm going to do a full centre column now. I'm hard about it, but to actually get the gear stick in the right position feels correct. The gear stick needs to be quite far forward, and the actual position of it's further forward than what you think. But you know, the last thing you want to do is your elbow start hitting the tubers by the seat, which is very, when I'm forward and back, my elbow is rather close to that, so I may even have to move that, move this tube and the handbrake thing back about for 10 degrees just to make sure everything misses. So steering wheel and dash on, that's kind of looking directly in front of my face, which is kind of awkward because I can't focus on the lens now. But you get the idea. Even with this 320mm steering wheel, I'm still getting the correct view. Now the dashboard itself is presently probably about 2.5 inches further closer to the steering wheel than it will be eventually. At the moment, obviously I've got clay and everything else in the way, so but we're in. So I was looking at where to put all the rest of it, but like everything else, it's kind of cramped to try and get stereo and then AC controls and everything else in there. So I've kind of noticed I can actually fit the stereo here. Now there's a limitation with the hinge point, which is kind of here, and there's a tube that comes around the back. It basically has a mounting point for the gas ram. Those will still miss the back of the stereo. Obviously where the stereo is here, there's still quite a bit of distance to go there. So I can actually get the stereo in there, which I hadn't thought about until earlier. If I put the AC controls below this, pretty much just everything's, you know, small distance from the steering wheel to there, so everything's easily get-atable. Even with the indicator stalks on the left hand side there, it still doesn't really interfere with the viewing of the stereo or the AC controls. Now there's 150mm, I think it's a 150mm free zone from the steering wheel out. 150, 180, I'll have to consult the IVA manuals to look at it. And it's basically a free zone, which basically means it doesn't matter about the sharp edges now, because the distance between the actual roll cage and steering wheel is probably not far off about 150. So the AC controls being there, you wouldn't have to worry about sharp radiuses on the knobs or anything else in intrusions. Now that obviously is been designed by BMW, so technically all these bars and stuff, they're all correct radius, and this will pass IVA no problem at all, so this can be stuck out in the middle of nowhere. So having this above this tube didn't kind of look right. The switches just looked too high, and I don't know, I didn't like it. Plus we have a reasonable distance between the bottom of the vents here and the tube. That's probably big enough to mount a TomTom or something in. So, you know, obviously we could also mount it over here and build out a tube to sort of increment the. It's hard to do it with one hand. Hang on, let me just put the stereo down. Oh, that's better. Now I gotta put the TomTom in here. You know, it's always handy to have a sat nav. So I could either mount it underneath here, which would be quite convenient because there'd be some shade from the top here. You obviously don't want daylight shining on it, so it could either be there, or I could build a separate small box. Instead of it being flat, I can increment the box round a bit and have a TomTom kind of built into the dashboard there, or another holder or receiver for it anyway, and have that as a separate unit. I must admit, I kind of like having the TomTom here. If you get the, if we look at the switch gear now, this is like the ones I want to go with. Again, if you look from where my driver's head's going to be, I'm still going to get pretty much a good view of the TomTom. and I can either have it flat, which I think completely flat, so it's not handed again, would still work pretty well. Obviously, like I said, I want to keep the top surface of the dash as a separate part, so that's not handed. I'd like to keep the dash itself across, so it's not handed, and the only bit that'll be handed is basically another piece that'll inset into here. So we'll have a cowl at the top and have a back plate that'll be pushed into a Velsom. So basically, you'll have a trim line on the dash either side. And depending on which side you want to put the thing in, there'll be a binnacle will go in. Because of the shape of the dash, obviously it's not going to be, I can't use the same binnacle left and right, so I'll have to build a left-hand drive and a right-hand drive binnacle. But apart from that, that'll be the only handed part I'll have to do, which makes things easier. At the moment, most of the people that are reasonably seriously interested in the car seem to be left-hand drive people anyway, which is kind of handy. But I will do a right-hand drive one, so everything can be swapped over. The chassis is obviously easy, it's just the fiberglass and the prototyping of that. But you can see I've got plenty of space here. With a 350mm steering, which I might still go to, I still have plenty of room, and obviously the further back you push that away, okay, it's only a couple of inches in, but you can have, that's going to technically shrink, so vision wise anyway, so there should be more area to move it around and view everything. Obviously I wanted this particular dashboard is the race one, so it hasn't got the nice lights for high beam, whatever, indicators and ignition light. If you buy the normal one, you can buy it with these 6 lights, these alarm lights. I think 4 of them are actually the normal or IVA required warning lights. So for this particular one, I'm going to have to stick extra lights either side of the dashboard for the IVA requirement. I've got one of those indicator units. Yeah, again referring back to CJ's Can-Am and whatever. I've got one of those units with all the lights on, but I don't quite see how I can fit it in so it's going to look sort of nice and symmetrical. So I think I'll just probably end up with individual LEDs again. And that's fine, I can stick them either side of the dash, there's plenty of room to view them. And like I say, we have multiple choices for the switchgear. The Ford unit seems to be the most common, and it is, must admit, it's a pretty good unit if you're not running some form of BCM, which is really what you need for these, because if you look at the pins on these things, they are, and you can't even see them, they are tiny. So this has no load. This has no load capacity whatsoever. You couldn't stick 5 or 6 amps through this. I'm pretty sure it would probably just fry whatever's inside it. So this is purely an input-based system for a BCM or body control module. So, but if I run that CAN-based wiring system, then like one I use for this, for that becomes quite possible. This is the same. There's no. These switches can take any real load. They could probably take, they could probably take, half an amp or something like that, which would be enough to drive a relay, but that would be about it. But yeah, again, if this is an input to my ECU or to my BCM, then not a problem. You're just dragging a contact earth down to neutral. No, we don't need electric windows. Dream On customers, I think they stand a cat and hell's chance because of the curvature of this particular thing there. A couple of people are going to try, but it's not something that I want to invest time in at this point. It's just I don't know, it's completely designed the door, and I'm not into that at the moment. So here we are. So stereo position, air conditioning controls, switch gear, dash will finish underneath here. So it won't go all the way down. I won't have a complete center console. There'll be obviously a fiberglass cover panel for the gear stick that'll mould back into the support tubing, which is all chopped off, but I'm going to redo this to come back to here. But then that particular fiberglass panel, I'll make it so technically if I'm on a left-hand drive car, I can move the gear stick over there a little bit, and it won't look odd. and obviously push the passenger seat out of the way. So the other side, yet again, you move the gear stick over this way from centre, push the passenger this way, and move the driver more into central position. There is a little, it's hard to tell, I suppose, through here. Actually, the driver's seat's closer to this bar than I am to this bar. There's a bigger gap here. Well, actually, the seat isn't at the moment. Tell a lie. Let me just get the adjuster. Okay, fine. Over exaggerating, instead of the seat being perfectly like that, you index the seat a little bit that way. I kind of seem to find that works best for me, but people can position the seat whatever they want it. Everything else will be pretty easy to do. They can position this a little bit left and right. I could just make it off a plate and they can position it wherever they feel best, give them a little bit of manoeuvrability room for whatever they want to do. So there we go, stereo, AC controls, switch gear, unit is okay at the moment, steering wheel's spaced about I could probably push it in the steering wheel about another half to 3/4 of an inch further that way. I have plenty of room here. It's kind of, I've got kind of that much room behind the steering wheel at the moment, which is, tape measures on the floor, which is 2 or 3 times. You really want about probably about 25-30 mil just for knuckle clearance, so you can be nice and relaxed on the steering wheel, not hit that. So I can actually move the steering wheel in a little bit from this position. I will move it as far in as I can, and then make the crush structure further back to that. So the minimum structure for this, and then if somebody wants to put a detachable steering wheel adapter in the centre, then not a problem. Oh my god, there's my ugly image. Right. Yes, steering. I think that's about all. There you go. Got to sort all this stuff out before I can figure out exactly how I want to finish this curve. How I want to finish that. If you look at that again, highly technical steering wheel adapter. Here we go. Yet again with the dash, you've got this nice curved line now. So basically I'm trying to look for a sympathetic curve that fits in here. So yet again you make another surface. You create one surface, and from that surface you make your next surface. So technically at the moment just trying to figure out what kind of line which looks sympathetic, and then this line here will be transferred on that side. Now obviously it'll disappear when the console's cut it, when the binnacle's cut into it. It'll cut into it round here, so technically that'll be go, and that'll be brought back, so the dashboard can be set as far back as possible, and then the binnacle will come over. So when your knuckles are on the steering wheel, there's still, there's that clearance to the binnacle. So I need the clearance to the binnacle, then I want at least a couple of inches of the dash further back, so that the dash has shade over the top of it, so you don't get any sunlight. Because obviously here, you can imagine, there's your dashboard, and technically you've got to come all the way back to there, which is where the windscreen is. And even with a sunscreen on the top a few inches, you've still got quite a sun directly over the top of you. You've got to be careful, you're not going to shine to the dash. Even my last design on my yellow car, it had about 1.5 inch overhang, and that wasn't enough. At night you still saw a reflection of the dash right at the top of the windscreen, and I didn't like that. That's not right. So ergonomics is a pain. So like this flat surface I'm just doing there, I'm going to build this flat surface out there again, just so I can do the same shape. So I've got to do some more claying here, and then I can bring this line into the vents, have that line underneath there, and then flowing back out nicely, and then our top line will come up, and I say that will probably more mimic the radiator inlet and the actual air induction inlet that's here, just as keeping a theme. So got the same kind of straight line up and along and straight line down, but with a little bump in the middle, just to give it a bit more of a feature. Okay, I hope it hasn't been 23 minutes, but you never know with me. There you go. Oh yeah, somebody asked, there's your electric steering column. So I don't need hydraulic assistance because I've got this is a Vauxhall Corsa unit, but for the prototype anyway. But post that I'll be using as an American unit. I can't think of the name of the company offhand. You can buy it from them, and I think it's around about $1,500 for the actual motor control and whatever unit. It doesn't have the stem stalk here, so you can actually place the unit further back, but I'll worry about that on the first customer car. I'll design that onto that, but that's all behind the dash and out of the way, so it's really pretty easy. It's just steel structure and some brackets to weld, so that would be pretty easy to do. So right, I'm logging off. I've burned up another 30 minutes. Thanks for listening.